My name is William. Tonight I invite you behind the mirrors of Versailles, where a queen's smile dazzled a nation, while her private life stirred whispers strong enough to shake a throne. The question is simple. Who reached Marie Antoinette's heart, and what did those quiet attachments truly mean? Before we step into rumor, we must understand the stage. Versailles was not a home. It was a machine built to display power. Corridors were crowded and doors rarely closed. Every gesture was public, every friendship measured. In such a place, affection learned to travel in code. The young queen craved ease and laughter. She wanted space to be simply a woman among friends, not always an emblem in a portrait. Yet duty weighed on her marriage. Expectation pressed on every hour. Courtiers hunted for signs of favor, and pamphleteers waited to turn gossip into gold. The full story behind this might surprise you, because the Queen's most dangerous affairs were not of the body. They were affairs of trust. Enter a circle of companions who offered warmth when the palace felt cold. Loyal women of the bedchamber guarded her secrets. Charming officers danced at masked balls and carried notes. Among them, one figure drew the sharpest ink in Europe, a tall, reserved nobleman whose courage and tact earned him rare access. His name matters less than the pattern. What mattered was how carefully the Queen balanced loyalty and longing. Letters moved between them. Some were copied, others destroyed, many disputed. They spoke of loyalty and constancy. They avoided confession, yet glowed with feeling. Does that prove a romance? It proves something just as compelling for a queen hemmed in by ritual. She found a private language, a refuge built of ink and discretion, and in that refuge she felt seen. Yet the truth is even more astonishing. Those guarded friendships were also political armor. A queen without allies is a target. A queen with tactful friends can steer a court's temperature. When she smiled at one visitor and not another, careers rose and fell. When a trusted confidant carried a message, two factions found a path to meet. The line between affection and policy blurred until no one could tell where the heart ended and the crown began. Now picture the Petit Trianon, the retreat where ceremony softened. Here the Queen traded heavy velvets for lighter fabrics and invited a smaller company to dine by candlelight. To critics, this looked like frivolity. To friends, it was a breathing space where laughter and conversation could run free. In rooms like these, attachments tightened. Promises were exchanged with a glance rather than a contract. What of the king? He was patient and conscientious, often tender in private, yet the marriage moved at the pace of state. Affection existed, but easy companionship did not always follow. Into that gap stepped confidence, who made the Queen feel lively and safe. Did one of them become the great secret of her life? Listen longer and judge. Consider the risks. A whisper at court could become a storm in the streets. Pamphlets painted the Queen as a siren of extravagance and appetite, blaming her for hardship. Some tales were absurd, others salted by envy. Each new rumor pushed the Queen back toward loyal friendships, which only fed the cycle of suspicion. Here is the loop that held her. She needed trust to stay steady. Trust required privacy. Privacy bred rumor. Rumor demanded more trust. Around and around she moved, trying to hold love, loyalty, and image in the same careful hands. So did she cross the line. The records refuse a final verdict. What they give is a portrait of a woman who wanted to be cherished in a world that treated her like a statue on wheels. She fought loneliness with conversation and letters. She risked the appearance of scandal to keep a piece of herself intact. Stay with me. Soon we will follow one night of masked rooms and coded notes, when a choice made in a quiet passage pushed her story onto a sharper blade. We will ask who truly benefited from the rumors, and why certain names kept returning to the Queen's side despite all the walls that watched. The night that matters begins at a masked ball, where every jewel is a message and every glance a gamble. Music swells from the gallery and candles paint bright canals along the mirrors. The Queen moves with practiced lightness, her circle close, her smile careful. Fans open and close in patterns that say yes or not now, or we are watched. A single card is slipped beneath a ribbon on her wrist. It is only a name day greeting. It is also an invitation. Beyond the glare of the grand hall, a smaller salon waits. Voices fall to velvet. Here a trusted noble stands a careful arm length away, the language formal yet tender at the edges. He praises not a gown but her judgment. He comments not on fashion but on courage. She answers in courtesy that reads like warmth. The chamber is not empty. A footman counts breaths. A lady notes the tide of eyes. Later that week, the Queen writes at a small desk with the window ajar. She avoids any word a pamphleteer could bend. She writes of duty and constancy. She writes of weather and music and the health of a friend. Between the lines, she writes what she cannot say. The letter is folded twice and sealed. On the outer face, there is nothing to alarm. Inside, there is a heart that wants to be held without spectacle. Who was the man? A soldier of self-control, a courtier who could step backward without losing ground. A friend of the North who arrived with quiet authority and left without a single piece of court gossip attached to his name. He made the Queen feel less like a portrait and more like a person. He understood that in a palace, the tenderest thing you can offer is discretion. Why did she risk even the appearance of an affair? Because loneliness can be louder than drums. Because a kingdom of mirrors offers applause but not shelter. Because one steady voice can make a day of ceremonies feel like a day of living. Did she cross a line? The papers never give a verdict you can frame. They give shadows and counter shadows. They give gestures that look like confession and read like prudence. And then a jolt, a ribbon found where it should not be, a gift returned too quickly. A servant repeats a half-heard sentence, and within hours a clever writer in Paris sharpens it into a blade. The pamphlet smiles like a joke and slashes like a knife. It draws the Queen in ink she does not recognize. It sells well. It breeds imitators. It teaches the city to believe that scandal is truth, wearing a brighter coat. The Queen retreats to the Petit Trianon, the small retreat where ceremony loosens its stays. There she walks the lawns at dawn and gathers a few trusted souls for supper. Laughter returns in short bursts. A letter is read and burned. Another is delivered only by memory and answer. The quiet noble comes and goes with the clockwork of a tide. Each meeting leaves no mark a spy can hold. Each parting leaves a trace no mirror can show. Meanwhile, politics tightens. Factions need fuel, and nothing burns faster than gossip with a crown on it. The Queen's image becomes a theatre where enemies rehearse their lines. A friendship is reframed as excess. A kindness is billed as conspiracy. Every step she takes toward privacy is used as proof of secrecy. Around her, the circle of trust narrows until it is almost a ring. There were chances to run. There were murmured plans of carriages and coast roads and quiet boats. She chose instead the marrow of duty. She stood beside the king in rooms that felt colder each season and held her chin with a steadier hand than her enemies expected. The noble who cared for her did what honor allowed and no more. He did not demand from her what would break her crown or her vow. So what, in the end, do we know? We know the Queen longed to be cherished not for spectacle, but for self. We know she wrote and burned and rewrote a language of careful feeling. We know a guarded friendship steadied her at a time when the ground slipped beneath everyone. And we know that rumor, once unleashed, devours the nuance that keeps a person whole. If you listen beneath the noise, a simpler music plays. It is the sound of a woman reaching for tenderness in a palace that paid her in attention. It is the sound of loyalty tested and refined. It is the sound of a private heart that refused to be entirely public. That, more than any lurid tale, is the reason her story still glows like candlelight on gold.